So, if you've ever had an aquarium, I bet you've had this moment. You look into your tank and suddenly, snails everywhere. Where do they even come from? And you got to ask yourself, what's their deal really? Well, today we're going to get right into it.
And this is really the heart of it, isn't it? Are these little guys a full-on plague that you need to wage war on, or are they actually one of the best allies you could possibly ask for in keeping your tank healthy and balanced?
You know, you've basically got two camps. In one corner, they are the pest. Their population just explodes, and you're worried they're going to start chewing up all your beautiful plants. But in the other corner, they're the ally, your personal cleanup crew scrubbing algae, aerating the gravel, and taking care of all the gunk. So, what's the real story?
Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the real story, then we'll meet the main snail protagonists. After that, we've got a quick care guide, we'll talk about how to handle population and any risks, and finally, we'll put it all together to see the big picture.
All right, first up, let's totally reframe how we think about this. Because snails, they're not just tiny vacuum cleaners. Their job in your tank is way bigger and honestly, way more important than you probably think.
This right here is probably the most important thing you need to understand about snails. A snail outbreak isn't the problem itself, it's just a symptom. Think of it like a blinking warning light on your car's dashboard. It's your tank telling you, hey, you're overfeeding me, or there's way too much waste down here. The snails are just showing up for the all-you-can-eat buffet that you've accidentally provided.
In fact, there's a really cool term for what they do. Scientists call them ecosystem engineers. How awesome is that? It means they aren't just passive residents. They are actively changing and shaping their environment for the better. They're literally fundamental to keeping everything in your tank in perfect balance.
So what does an ecosystem engineer actually do in your tank? Well, three really crucial jobs. First, they're your 24/7 cleaning crew, constantly munching on algae and all that leftover gunk. Second, some of them burrow around in your sand or gravel, which is great because it aerates everything and stops nasty, toxic gas pockets from forming. And third, and this is super cool, they're living, breathing water quality sensors. If you ever see all your snails making a mad dash for the surface, that's a huge red flag that your oxygen levels are dangerously low.
Okay, so now that we know they're the good guys, which one do you recruit for your team? Because not all snails are created equal. Picking the right species for the job can make a world of difference. Think of it like this. You've got different specialists for different tasks. You've got your hardcore algae experts that won't have babies all over the place. You've got your general-purpose cleaners who take care of leftovers. And you even have, get this, snail assassins that hunt other snails. As you can see, their jobs and their, let's say, family planning strategies are totally different. First up, the Nerite snail. Look, if you hate algae and you're terrified of a snail explosion, this is your guy. They are absolute machines when it comes to eating algae, some of the best in the business for sure. And here's the magic trick. They might lay some eggs, but those eggs will not hatch in your freshwater tank. They need brackish, salty water for that, so you get all the cleaning power with zero chance of overpopulation. Problem solved.
Then you have the big, beautiful apple snails, which are often called mystery snails. These are the charismatic bulldozers of the snail world. They're fantastic for general cleanup, leftover food, dying leaves, you name it. Now, they do reproduce in fresh water, but they make it super easy on you. They lay these big, bright pink egg clusters above the water line. You literally can't miss them. So if you don't want more snails, you just pop the clutch off. Simple as that.
And now for a personal favorite, the assassin snail. How cool is that name? This little guy is a straight-up carnivore that actively hunts other snails. So if you do have an out-of-control population of some other snail type, you don't need chemicals. You just unleash a couple of these assassins. It's the perfect biological weapon. And the best part? They reproduce super slowly, so you're not just trading one problem for another.
All right, we've met the team. Now, how do we keep them happy and healthy? It's pretty simple, actually, but there are a couple of golden rules you just can't break.
Okay, rule number 1, the absolute golden rule. It's all about the shell. And for a healthy shell, you need the right water chemistry. If your water gets too acidic, that's a pH below 7.0, it will literally start to dissolve their shells. It's like trying to live in a house made of sugar in the rain. So you've got to keep that pH between 7.0 and 8.0, no exceptions.
And why is the water so critical? Well, get a load of this number, 80%. That is how much of the calcium a snail needs for its shell that it pulls directly out of the water. Only 20% comes from its food. That means your water hardness is arguably more important for their health than what they eat. Kind of blows your mind, right? Now, about that other 20%, their diet. Look, they can't just live on scraps. Their main meal is the natural algae and biofilm that's already in your tank. But it's a really good idea to give them some treats like blanched zucchini or spinach. This keeps them well fed so they aren't tempted to nibble on your expensive plants. And of course, make sure those veggies are calcium rich to help build those strong shells.
Okay, one last thing on care, and this is a big one, a life or death one. Snails are incredibly sensitive to copper. It is poison to them. A lot of fish medicines out there, especially for treating things like ick, are loaded with copper. Even a tiny amount can wipe out your entire snail population. So please, always read the label. If you're going to medicate your tank, it has to say copper safe or invertebrate safe.
Okay, let's talk about the two things everyone worries about, having way too many snails and whether or not they're dangerous. We're going to tackle this head-on.
So if you feel like you're being overrun, step away from the chemical treatments. Seriously, the real solution is way easier and has 3 simple steps. 1. Cut back on the free food. Stop overfeeding your fish. Less food means fewer snails. 2. Be a better housekeeper. Suck up the gunk from the gravel when you do water changes. And 3, if things are really out of hand, call in the assassins. A few assassin snails will sort things out naturally. See, it's about managing the cause, not just killing the symptom.
But what about us? Can aquarium snails make us sick? You hear these horror stories about parasites from wild snails, so it's a fair question. Let's get this cleared up once and for all.
And here's the absolute key distinction you need to understand. Wild-caught snails, yes, they can be very dangerous and carry some truly nasty parasites. But the snails you buy from a pet store for your aquarium, they are captive bred. They've lived their whole lives in clean tanks, completely isolated from those diseases. For you, the aquarium keeper, the risk is not low, it is 0. They are 100% safe.
So let's bring this all home. When you understand what they really do, you stop seeing snails as a potential problem and start seeing them for what they are, a vital part of a healthy, balanced little world in a glass box.
And you know what's really wild? Their importance goes way beyond our hobby. Snail farming, that's aquaculture, is a legitimate, growing industry around the world. In places like Korea, they farm apple snails as a food source. And in communities in Mexico, collecting local snails is a sustainable way for people to make a living. We're talking about a global resource here.
So, let's circle all the way back to the beginning. We asked if they were a pest or a partner. But now that you've seen them as engineers, as tiny health monitors for your tank, and even as a valuable global resource, I have to ask, will you ever look at that little snail on the glass the same way again?